In March 2001, in the Bamiyan Valley of Afghanistan, Taliban fighters planted explosives into the base of two massive Buddhas carved directly into a cliffside. Within seconds, 1,500 years of history vanished. When the dust settled, the world watched helplessly. What was once a towering achievement of human artistry was reduced to an empty, hollowed-out shape in the rock. This kind of erasure is an ancient story. 2,000 years ago, a Greek traveler journeyed across the known world and compiled a list of 7 structures so grand, people genuinely believed they were built by the gods themselves. We know them today as the 7 wonders of the ancient world. But if you go looking for these impossible structures today, you'll hit a dead end. 6 of the 7 have been entirely wiped off the map. Humanity's greatest achievements are incredibly fragile. To understand how monuments built to stand forever simply vanished, we have to look closely at the specific forces powerful enough to erase them. The first destructive force is humanity itself. Take the Temple of Artemis in ancient Turkey. It was a staggering structure spanning 137 meters, held up by 127 solid marble pillars. Its demise had nothing to do with extreme weather or natural disasters. In 356 BC, a man named Herostratus set the entire structure on fire. When caught, he admitted he did it for one reason: he wanted people to remember his name. The statue of Zeus at Olympia met a similarly violent end. It was a massive 12-meter idol plated in ivory and solid gold. After pagan worship was banned, it was hauled off as a trophy to Constantinople and quietly disappeared, likely burned or melted down by a mob. Then there was the Colossus of Rhodes, a 33-meter bronze titan of the sun god Helios that loomed over a bustling Mediterranean harbor. An earthquake actually snapped the statue at the knees barely 50 years after it was built, but it was human greed that ultimately erased it. An invading Arab army eventually arrived, chopped up the fallen bronze plates, and sold the ruins for scrap metal. Whether it's burning a masterpiece to gain viral notoriety in antiquity, or melting down a god for a quick payout, human ego and greed remain incredibly efficient at wiping out history. Other wonders survived our worst impulses, only to be crushed by geology. The mausoleum at Halicarnassus was a staggering 45-meter-tall tomb wrapped entirely in white marble. It stood perfectly intact for well over a millennium, outlasting the Romans. But a relentless series of earthquakes starting in the 12th century began violently shaking it to pieces, cracking the columns and dropping the marble. The final insult came centuries later. Christian knights arrived and scavenged those columned, shattered stones to build Bodrum Castle, literally burying the ancient wonder inside the walls of a newer fort. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, the world's first true massive lighthouse, standing over 100 meters tall, suffered the exact same sequence of events. It guided ships safely to port for centuries before 3 massive earthquakes finally shattered it. And just like the mausoleum, its sea-swept remnants didn't go to waste. A sultan hauled the scattered stones away to construct his own coastal military stronghold. Given enough time, the Earth will reclaim any tall, rigid structure. What the seismic waves break apart, humans eventually pick up and recycle into lesser buildings. Then there is the strangest case of all, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. This is a wonder destroyed purely by the unreliability of human memory. Modern historical research points to a fascinating possibility. These tiered, heavily irrigated gardens may have never existed in Babylon at all. They were likely a myth born from confused geography and exaggerated storytelling passed around by Greek writers who had never actually been there. Which brings us to these massive weathered limestone blocks. This is the base of the Great Pyramid of Giza. It is the only wonder left standing, and it is so incredibly old that it was considered ancient history even when Cleopatra was alive. It doesn't look like it used to. Originally, it was capped with gold and wrapped in perfectly smooth, bright white limestone. Over the centuries, humans chiseled away that valuable outer shell, leaving the pyramid completely bare. The reason it survives, even after being pillaged, comes down to pure physics. Unlike a tall, top-heavy temple pillar, a pyramid's mass is distributed across a massive, wide base. This gives it an incredibly low center of gravity. When seismic waves ripple right through the ground, the exact forces that snapped lighthouses and statues, they pass straight through that broad base without fracturing the structure above. If you want to outlast the forces of history and geology, you cannot rely on delicate pillars or towering bronze. You have to build an artificial mountain. Today, 6 of those 7 structures are physically gone, but their cultural DNA remains embedded in our society. King Mausoleus's grand tomb, for example, literally gave us the modern word mausoleum, and the imposing design of the Colossus of Rhodes directly influenced the posture, scale, and meaning of America's most famous monument, the Statue of Liberty. When we look at our own modern architectural marvels, we have to ask which of them truly possess the structural permanence to survive another 2,000 years of earthquakes, wars, and weathering. Time remains undefeated against almost everything we built. Ultimately, what outlasts stone, marble, and bronze are the stories we choose to pass down.